What's up, everyone? It's Muscle Whisperer Josh. Just doing a quick video. Haven't been doing this for a while, so trying to get back into just making some videos and just sharing some knowledge. It's been rough finding time with the new little one, so trying to be quiet right now just so I don't wake him up. I just want to talk a little bit about hamstring and glutes because I think that's the biggest thing that people want to train these days, and if we don't understand them, it's really going to be a lot more difficult for us to train our hamstrings and train our glutes properly. But also, it's going to be a lot tougher on us for doing any kind of maintenance on them too, because we're going to have more tension, more of everything that's negative, just because we're probably pushing and doing exercise and exercise and exercise and just throwing weight around instead of really knowing what we're doing with the muscles. So, one big one is, the back side of our body, being the hamstring and glutes, is balanced by the front side of our body. So our quads and our hips basically are going to dictate whether or not we're going to contract our hamstrings and glutes properly. So you may feel like you can sit back into a squat, but just because you can sit back into it doesn't mean anything. It doesn't even mean that you're really truly contracting that muscle as hard as you can. Just figure if the hips and the quads right below them are super tight, they're still pulling forward and trying to keep themselves stable as you're trying to sit back into your glutes and your hamstrings. And what it's going to do is it's eventually just going to keep pulling down the leg. And once your quad just gets overly dominant and tight, then good luck trying to contract your hamstring, because your quad is a big muscle group and it can hold you up no problem going into a squat. You see people all the time who have big, thick knees. It looks like the quad is kind of engulfing the knee. That's a big indicator that your quad is dominant, it's not being trained properly, and you should really reassess things at that point. So we shouldn't just keep killing ourselves in the gym. Maintenance is what I preach all the time, and I do it because it changed my life. So fact is, when you maintain your body, it makes everything easier. People ask me all the time, and these last 5 months I haven't really had a chance to work out. Just taking my time and really letting my shoulder kind of regain itself, because it's been beat up from doing a lot of the work and stuff, and just hanging out with little man. But basically, like, when I was training hard, people would ask me, like, oh, you train 5, 6, 7 days a week, and I'd laugh and say I'm lucky if I get 2 to 3 good workouts in. And honestly, I mean, if that's all I can get, then I need to make sure that I maximize it. And when you use a foam roller and stretching, or hire a body worker, somebody who's going to do the work for you and stuff, whatever your choice of maintenance is, it will make everything so much faster. You'll go get, if I had to guess, like 5 to 10 times the workout every time you work out, just because that muscle is so much more full of blood, it's so much less tension, so you're having less friction and more contraction. You just enjoy it more. I mean, that's the thing that just kills me when I see people go out there. Like, it's a big thing in your life to go out there and work out and work out and work out, but the fact is, like, most of us will live in pain while we're doing it, or most of us will just go out there and, like, be fighting for something that just doesn't happen as fast as we want it to. So things like, just spending a day or spending, a few minutes after your workouts doing your stretching and foam rolling, and making sure that, I preach all the time, don't stretch before a workout, but, basically what I mean by that is to do a dynamic warm-up. So if you're doing chest, move your arms around in a way you're going to do chest, do some body-weighted exercises, push-ups, things like that. Really get it warmed up, and try and train all the other muscles too in a warm-up. Like, if you're going to be training your chest, you need to be getting your back just as warm too. I think so many people go out and they'll just attack their muscle group that they're trying to lift on, and they forget that there's muscles that oppose that and help that. I mean, the stronger your back is, the better your chest is. So you figure that for any part of your muscles, and getting them all warmed up, and then hitting your workout. And then even if you have to cut your workout a little bit short, spend 10-15 minutes, just foam roll a couple areas. Don't try and get too crazy. One thing I always recommend is, when you do foam roll, it's not about how much you do, it's about how much you're doing on one spot. So if you only have 10 minutes, 15 minutes, then spend 3-4 minutes on each side, hitting a spot, really dig into it, hold that spot, work it back and forth an inch or two, and then, go ahead and make sure that you hit symmetrically on the other side. So big thing, don't try and go down further on any part of your body before you match up the other side. You will always end up screwing up and doing less on one side than you do on the other. Even myself, it's just, for some reason it happens that way. So you know, so post workout, you got maybe 4 minutes on that, 4 minutes on that. Do a good 1 to 2 minute stretch on each side. You're out in 11 minutes, 12 minutes. And you've really, by doing this, at least on the area, one of the areas that you worked, you'll prevent any kind of severe issues and stuff like that. And plus, you'll be just limiting how sore you are afterwards, how, you won't feel as limited on your movements afterwards. And, you'll bounce back a lot quicker with your recovery. And plus, you'll be seeing what you want to see from working out. I mean, I know there's a euphoric push in it, and people love to just go kick their own, backside. But in reality, it's more about effectively beating ourselves up, because we are basically injuring ourselves every time we work out. So you don't want to go in there all beat up, and you don't want to just keep demolishing the same areas. And you don't want to go into a gym for a year and then see somebody beside you progress, and then you don't progress the same way, or you don't feel like you saw the same lines and symmetry and development that person was doing too. It's a big one for competitors. A lot of the competitors I work with is, we all have to shut that meathead mentality off, and I do it myself. It's really hard not to just go in there and beat the crap out of yourself without thinking about what you're doing, and just, train through it like everybody says. And, I think you would find if you talk to a lot of these, big bodybuilder names, the people that all these guys are trying to be like, they've hired the assistants, people like myself, who can fix them, people who like quality trainers, like some of the guys who train all these Olympians and stuff, and they get the people to think for them, because, I mean, in reality, whether you're searching on the internet or you're watching a video like this or you're doing something, you need to be acquiring some kind of assistance. If we try and do it all ourselves, you can only hope to perform at a certain level. When I was competing competitively in basketball when I was younger, and my coach used to sit us all on a line, and we were on a pretty highly competitive team, that would travel around, and it was tough. We played against a lot of good guys, but the coach used to sit there and tell us, and it's the best advice he ever said: if you're all sitting here hearing the same thing, then what's going to set you apart? What's going to make you different? If you're just, in such a monkey see, monkey do world, I mean, it's probably going to be hard for a lot of people to sit here and just watch me in my kitchen and talk to you guys, rather than seeing some kind of functional video, some tangible form of what I'm talking about, And in the other videos, I will get into some foam rolling and showing and demonstrating all the stuff. That's what I love to do. But in reality, like, if you're just watching somebody and replicating what they're doing, you can only hope to be a replica of that person. You're not really going to be anything different unless you're actually seeking out something different and trying something different and doing something different, And the people who come and actually listen to me on the maintenance side and really dumb down that ego, they see the difference, And it cracks me up a lot of times that people would fight it because, like, believe me, I was the meathead 3 times a day working out in the gym, trying to get as big as I could, as cut as I could, trying to look good at the pools, stuff, whatever every guy does, that's, whether or not they're just seeking out image of being a personal trainer, or if, they really love their job, like I started out, like I think most trainers start out with just the big ego, and I wanted to be the image of a personal trainer, and people would think I'm just fit and buff and everything like that, but I mean, I was just doing the same thing everybody else was, and until I really started going like, why wouldn't I do this? If I could literally make the shape of my muscle different, it's not rocket science, like you're changing like the actual, like people call it tone, but tone is a much different, that's an actual functional meaning, but tone to me means something on like an action, internal action, tone people think tone, they think definition and stuff, but when you're thinking about changing the tension in your body, that definition and everything is going to change. You are moving the tension of that muscle, and therefore the muscle is going to move. Therefore, things are going to sit differently. And yeah, that's why the before and afters I post are really real. And I do post them just because I want people to believe that they can actually change their body with more than just going in and throwing weight around, And I mean, you have to realize one big thing too. I mean, the way that we throw weight around is just a redistribution of gravity. I mean, gravity pushes down on my shoulder sitting right here. If I let it, it'll push me down like this. If I sit up, then it's more like putting it here on my chest and relaxing my back a little bit. The same goes when you go into the gym. I mean, if you're redistributing the way gravity is pushing on you by adding weight, then we need to realize that the way that our muscles are positioned, and if they're positioned in the wrong way because of tension, then it's going to cause us to basically kind of mitigate and distribute that weight differently. You know, our body's going to be more so not worried about us putting all the weight on our chest or whatever we're trying to lift that day, our legs. It's going to be worried about what pressure it's putting on inside of it that it doesn't like. Like if a joint is impinged and now we're putting excess pressure on a leg press on it, your body's going to be like, screw you, I don't care what you say. And I don't care what your goal is today. I'm going to make sure that we protect this joint in the best way we can. And when we go against what our body tries to do, that's when we see like even the highest performing athletes in the NFL and stuff like that blowing out ACLs and having catastrophic failure right off the bat. And the fact is, it's just a way of being proactive and having more thoughts of preparation than thoughts of just action, and without thought, I guess that's what I'm trying to say. So we just have to make sure that we set ourselves up for the best possible outcome, and we don't think we're ever going to get injured. We don't think that we're just going to do anything but go in and have this amazing workout or go out and train on the field or in the court or in the pool, whatever it is you guys choose to do. But the fact is, we forget ourselves in all of this because, same as people come to me in a consult all the time and like, oh, I don't have any pain, I know my own body, and I'll press on their trap and they jump out of the chair, and it's like, why do you think you know your body so well? Just because you walk around in it, and until you're aware and actually analyze things and think about them as you're doing them. Like, for instance, a good example, I would really irritate a lot of my clients the first session because I would make them walk for an hour. And I'm not talking on a treadmill, I'm not talking any fun inclines or any challenge or anything like that. I would simply have them walk in a straight line and teach them that you walk from your glutes and not your feet. And after about 20 minutes of it, it no longer became this irritating, annoying, why am I wasting $100 an hour for somebody to teach me how to walk back and forth like, a fool, is basically what they were thinking. And some of these people are very wealthy, so this was really hard for them to think, they would want to walk out right away. But after about 20 minutes of that, they would feel the fire in different parts of their body. They would feel the agony through their calves and through their feet that they've been putting on it because they're changing the way that the glutes are being activated, and they're actually striding properly and actually gating on the hips and doing all the things that we just ignore. But those things are like, if you just do that, I could take the simple bodybuilder who's out there killing himself. I could take a guy who lifts 550 pounds and just teach him how to walk like that. And if he did that effectively, it would instantaneously, within weeks, he would see a difference in like how strong he was, and more importantly for me, like how stable he is during his range of motion. He's not putting any excess pressure on the joints, or he's not contracting muscles that he shouldn't be contracting. Synergistic dominance is a big thing that everybody deals with, and that's pretty much where I'll go back to before I finish this, because I gotta get to clients. But back to the hamstrings and glutes and everything. So like synergistic dominance, is one thing that like I've always wanted to speak on, and every time I think to, I just forget about it. And it's basically, not to get too, terminology and stuff, but it's just when two things can do the same thing. So, like front delt and chest and different things. And when people talk about synergistic dominance and how people like overtrain their shoulders when they're trying to train their chest. But that's the same thing as we're talking about with the hips. If we have excess tension in the hips, excess tension in the quads, either way, it's going to work back and forth. So if it starts in the hips, it's going to go to the quads. If it starts in the quads, it's going to go to the hips. And what that's going to do for our hamstrings and glutes is the further along that tension gets, the further along the hips and quads get in their dominance, the less and less you're going to start feeling your quads and hamstrings. So what can we do? Basically, build your routines around when you're doing your workouts. When you're doing your workouts on your legs, try and get that foam roller out after you're doing that, and try and actually break down the hips, break down the quads if you're really trying to feel those hamstrings and glutes. Some of you might have an opposite problem, because I do see a lot of people who have, somehow got their body to where it is, even if they're training wrong. Some people just luck out that their body started a different way. They were doing different things, like they drive a car differently, or they stand differently at work, or something that is different for the other person who sits down all the time and they're in the car more often and in a plane more often, where their hips are flexed all the time. That could be a person like that. So if you're at work and you're one of those people, or if you're traveling, get up, take a break, pull over on a long trip, get out, do a lunge, and lean back into that lunge and really open that hip up, and then switch legs and do the same thing. Simple things like that, just a few times a day, like when you're at the job, will make a huge difference. I'm losing my train of thought here, but I went all over the place. Anyways, so when you're training your hamstrings and your quads, try and split them up if you're trying to isolate them. So that way, at least on a maintenance day, that way you can isolate whatever you're trying to foam roll too, especially if you're a person who doesn't have that much time like we were talking about. So get into your workouts, follow them up with, say, working your hamstrings and then foam rolling your hamstrings that day. Or if you're really feeling like you're one of these quad dominant people, then work your hamstrings, then train your or foam roll your quads, and then do the same thing with your glutes and your hips, and then flip it around. Train your hips, do some hip thrusts and different stabilized hip exercises, and then go foam roll your glutes. And you'll start to notice that the balance and tension ratio, basically like how balanced you are, you'll see the difference. There's no question. I mean, you'll feel it first, and if you stick with it, then you'll start to see the difference. And if you're somebody who's extremely tight and you have the time, then you're going to see a lot of difference, just because when you break that tension down, it's going to instantly show a different shape to your muscle. It's going to show a different look in the lines of definition. And I mean, when you move it, when you flex it, everything, it's just going to feel good. It's going to feel the blood flow, And that's one thing when you are doing it. If you want to know how much time you need to spend on a specific area, you want to work a knot that feels really tender, back and forth. Sometimes it's a minute on smaller muscles, and sometimes on muscles that you're used to doing it or you train a lot, it could be as much as 5 minutes. Take and dig into it, but when you stand up or move that area, it should feel light and loose, and it should feel pretty cool. And sometimes that cool feeling will go all the way down your leg, or it'll go all the way down your arm, and that's basically blood when it transfers into a new area, and say that area isn't used to getting as much blood flow. Well, that blood cools down as it enters that new area, and it has to warm back up. So that feeling is the feeling you want to kind of resonate through that area that you just worked. And when you do that, then you've known that you've spent a good amount of time on it. Now you can use that as a gauge and a buffer to figure out exactly how long you're going to do that, and if you can make that feeling even better. And as you feel it, that cool feeling goes, sometimes you could have an impingement throughout your whole arm, say. And as you break down the shoulder, you feel it go down here, but it kind of lacks in the forearm. Well, you might have to get into stretching and rolling your arms and your forearms and breaking them down. Use a ball, use a foam roller, and see if you can get that feeling to continuously go all the way down the arm. And that'll tell you that you're getting extremely good circulation. And one big thing I see with a lot of bodybuilders too, and just anybody in general now with the big fitness craze, is they eat a lot. And let's not get into all the macro stuff and everything, because that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you can feed your body, and then guys could be like, I can't grow my calves. Then I work their calves, and they're the tightest thing on their body. Well, if you can't get blood flow there, good luck getting the food that you're eating to it. So, I mean, it doesn't really matter how much food you just plow into your face. I mean, if you're not getting good circulation and everything like that, you're going to have areas that are lacking. So I hope this was a good video. It's the first one in a long time, so I probably rambled on a little bit. I tried to keep it pretty concise and to the point, but so focus on the tension as much as you focus on trying to build that area. So think about the opposite muscle. Think about what's on the opposite side of your body. What opposes that muscle? My back and my chest and my back, my hamstring, my quad, and vice versa, hips and glutes. Quads and shins are kind of one together and stuff, but they do matter in the way they kind of travel back and forth differently. So working your foot to help increase your calf development and stuff, and that's a big one for people. If you're looking for that calf development, work your feet. If you're looking for better shoulder development, work under the arm, work around your pec, work all the shoulder blade, work all these hard areas out. If you're looking for a better back, dig all your chest out. If you have back pain up here, dig out your chest. Whatever you're feeling pain in is not where the problem is. Wherever you're lacking in development, it's not where the problem is. So always look somewhere else. Comment, write, whatever you guys want to ask. Just simply tell me the muscle. I'm sure after you watch this, though, if you watch the whole thing, you're probably going to start to notice these different things that I'm talking about without me having to answer a question for you, because I've kind of answered it here. But when you're struggling in one area, if I could give you any advice, that would be the best advice. Look somewhere else, because in most cases, it's not what you think. And if you get too stuck on one thing and fixated on one thing, you're never really going to move past that thing. And you're just going to be stuck trying to overdo one area. And when you do that, then you're going to further these compensations throughout your body, and you're going to further the other muscles too lacking. So, and then eventually you're going to get to a point where it's so miserably kind of brutal on you. You don't even care. A lot of people give up before they ever reach the goal of the physique or the performance or the athletic power or whatever the goal is they're going for. They give up before they ever reach that. So, just look elsewhere. It'll make it a lot easier on you. And same goes, if you're just exercising all the time, spend more time doing maintenance. You probably have months, if not years of progress, just sitting there waiting, begging for you to open up that tension and just let you see how hard you've already worked. I mean, a lot of us have already done so much of the work. I see guys who I'm like, you're already big. Why do you need to be bigger? I see women, I'm like, your glutes are already there. Your hamstrings are already there. You just have to develop them. You can't have like a huge quad and then no hamstring. Your hamstring is most likely a lot bigger than you think it is. It's just hiding from tension. So, all right, guys, I got to get to work, but appreciate all the listening. I hope everybody enjoyed this, and please leave some comments. Let me know what you guys would like to hear from me going forward. All right, thanks, guys.